Ladies and gentlemen, it's July 15th, 2026. Congress just committed treason. And yes, they did. Some of you might be saying, yes, Donald Trump and the Trump administration, the Republicans, they passed the Save America Act. We can finally have secure elections. And so tomorrow, this is going to be a lot of what Trump is talking about in his speech to the nation at 9 p.m., which I'll be covering this entire stream. But what he may not realize, which I think he does, is that the Israeli military will be fusing with our military because of this Save America Act, because it was passed by the Republicans in unison. And essentially, the Save America Act was tied to the National Defense Authorization Act and H.R. 8800, Section 219. And Section 219 essentially allows basically an executive of the Israeli military, the IDF, to have the full Israeli military to have integration with all of our intelligence and our military. So, is this the end of America? Is this the end of the United States? Is this the end of sovereignty for our country? It very well may be. So again, it's July 15th, 2026, and we're talking about how Congress basically just committed treason and how they tried to be sneaky. They tried to be patriotic about it and tie in the Save America Act. And that's great. Secure elections, and the Republicans will win again, Dominion voting systems. But ultimately, you're giving up your country. And so we've been talking a lot about the Muslim takeover that's happening in America. But again, not enough people are talking about the Israeli takeover of America, which is insane. Who would have thought that the Greater Israel Project included the United States of America in that? We knew that the Greater Israel Project considered 7 countries to be conquered within a 5-year time period. Again, those countries being essentially Lebanon, essentially Turkey, essentially Kuwait, Syria, and it would be Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and then essentially Egypt. And now we are looking at potentially Ukraine, the United States, and Argentina. So the Israelis are winning, and the Israelis are running the United States government and Trump like a marionette. And that's why this thumbnail was specifically Netanyahu running Trump like a marionette. Now, I'm a 3-time Trump supporter, so nobody can say that I've been disloyal to Trump or that I'm some Democrat. I'm not. But people aren't realizing, and a lot of MAGA is not realizing, that you've all been played and fooled. You've all been truly conned into believing that this entire Save America Act, again, which is great, but it's been tied into this National Defense Authorization Act, H.R. 8800, Section 219, which allows the Israeli military to merge with our military. So this is total treason, and everybody who voted for this, again, all of the Republicans voted for this. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to cover some of the clips from it. We're also going to cover the Iran war a little bit. We'll cover some of the Russia-Ukraine war and some other viral videos that I found important to cover on X. And we're going to really break this down and what this really means for the United States. So again, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and leave your thoughts on this NDAA. Leave your thoughts on, Trump just not standing up against Israel. Has Israel always been, or has Trump been a puppet for Israel from the very beginning? And I'm starting to wonder how true that just might be. Remember, it was Trump who said that Israel is the greatest country on earth. He had quoted this. And this was not too long ago, a few months ago. It was also Trump who continues saying, I have a 99% approval rating in Israel. And I'm very excited about that. And then you also have a lot of the Israelis who are saying that Trump is their Messiah, which is very strange. What is the truth behind Donald Trump? Is he really working for America first? Mike Johnson, Congressman, AIPAC, giving all of our politicians, all of our senators, millions of dollars. Again, Mike Johnson had over $1 million given to him by AIPAC. And now he says, Israel first, Israel great, Israel is amazing, greatest ally, even though we have the USS Liberty JFK, we have potentially Charlie Kirk with not a lot of evidence against Tyler Robinson or even Lance Twiggs, and we don't really know about that entire rabbit hole. So much is happening, and again, we're going to cover it all. So be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts on what's going on in America. Again, I think this is pretty bad. Again, this is not good news, and again, just the other day, they didn't want to pass this, and now they do want to pass this. And so, again, we are in a position at a standstill, truly. So let's cover this video. Unbelievable. And of course, they have this really out of shape lady smiling like a demon, like a goblin, just celebrating this like it's a good thing, probably just taking millions of dollars or just doesn't even know what's happening. So again, breaking, the U.S. House has passed the NDAA 217 to 209 with the Save America Act language included. So again, Republicans 215 yeas and 1 nay. Democrat had 1 yeah and 208 nays. Democrats all voted against this. Why do you think that is? Democrats are the ones saying, no, we should not fuse the United States military with the Israeli military. Are the Democrats the ones who are finally on board for this? Now, they all said no because they don't want illegal immigrants to not have the right to vote, right? The Democrats only voted no on this because they didn't want the Save America Act to pass. Okay, they couldn't care less about Israel or any of that. That's not their concern. Their concern is that, again, the United States wants to deport a lot of illegal immigrants, which is great. And, again, that's all part of the Save America Act side of this. But then the Democrats want to protect those same illegal immigrants and give them the right to vote. That's what this would do, basically protecting the 14th Amendment, unlawful naturalized American citizens basically anybody who's unlawful as an American citizen who's living here illegally, and if they have a child, that citizen would be legal under the 14th Amendment and then be allowed to vote. Anybody coming over here to a different country getting a driver's license would be allowed to vote, just because they have a driver's license and proof of record and all this stuff. But these people never know how to drive. And so the Democrats are voting for those people to stay in America. They are defending their right to stay in America. On the other side of it, the Republicans obviously want to secure elections. On the other side of that, we have the National Defense Authorization Act, which basically ties in our government with the entire Israeli military. Absolutely insane. Any politician who is supporting this is a complete and total traitor. And truly, they are just, these are the worst Congress people, all boomers, by the way, and they have sold out our country. And so anybody who's supporting this, they should not be able to call themselves an American. Absolutely insane.
On this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Welcome to the United States of Israel, ladies and gentlemen. This is now Israel's country. The Greater Israel Project now includes the United States. So again, you look at the comments. Pass the Save America Act alone without the NDAA merging our military with Israel. Everybody knows about this, and Congress obviously knows about this, but they don't care. They're getting money from AIPAC. This is treason and against everything our founding fathers fought for, one person said. One person said, this is disgusting and treasonous. Every person must be dealt with. Every person must be in person. I can't believe I'm saying that Democrats are saving us right now. Weirdly enough, they don't care. The Democrats also do not care. They care more about illegal immigration amnesty, and supporting those people than actually white European Americans, Native Americans, people who live here. We're basically being attacked, and our country is being taken over by complete demon worshipers and horrible people. And that's what's going on. This is why politics is so important to run for. This is why you out there need to start running for local politics, your local city councils. Think locally. You think locally first, and then you act globally. You work your way up the ranks. This is why politics is so important. This is why, you can't be afraid to be called a racist for standing up against certain issues, or this is why you can't be so afraid of losing your job when these things are happening in your country. You have to be willing to talk about it, or this stuff happens. Again, absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy. So again, people are not happy as we look at all of these different videos, as we look at all these different clips. So this is Alex Jones. I like covering him because he's been one of the only voices actually talking about this in the far right, conservative right. Treason alert, every Republican senator must voted to merge the U.S. military/intelligence with Israel and give them co-ownership of all of our weapon systems.
For now, Israel's attempt to merge and take over the U.S. military and co-own all of our weapons has failed in the Senate. I'm about to break down who treasonously voted for this garbage. They called me crazy.
And today the House passed it all through together into one bill.
But now they know I was right.
Alex Jones.
Tonight, more conspiracies that turned out to be
Jones live.
Something really important happened yesterday. The Senate voted 50 to 46 not to pass the Defense Authorization Act 2027.
So again, that was the Senate. Today, the House of Representatives passed it all together in one single bill to the Senate. And so we're going to see if the Senate ends up voting yes on this, but I just don't think, if they're going to just turn this away. I don't think so. I think they are going to vote this in. I've been saying this for weeks, months now. I've been making YouTube shorts on it, clips, and telling people, hey, call your local Congress people, call your state representative, email them, go on their websites, fill out the form, go through the whole 20-minute, 30-minute process, and email them and tell them you don't want this bill because this is happening.
That $1.5 trillion bill. And the people that voted against it said because the war continues, there's no end in sight, there's no strategy. And a lot of the senators said because there's this legislation in there, Section 219, it was 224, they changed the bill, that merges our military. It actually says that, synchronizes it with the Israelis and lets them co-own our weapon systems. Netanyahu says he won't need the tens of billions a year we give them anymore in pure money and military aid because, well, they'll earn it by co-owning all of our military systems. This is crazy. I don't care if you're a Christian Zionist and love Israel.
This has never happened in American history. We've never done this in American history where we have given another country infused with their military, allowing them to have our intelligence, allowing them to have our control over our technology, allowing them to have control over basically all of our weapons systems, war plans, all of it. And even the Pentagon released a statement stating that the state of Israel is the greatest national security threat in regards to spyfare. So it's like this all needs to be combated, and the Senate needs to say no to this, or we are going to lose America 100%.
I don't want any foreign government running and controlling our country. But here's what's most important. Every Republican voted for this. And the Democrats are normally my arch enemies and are absolutely horrible on almost every other issue. But at least on this issue of wanting to know where the war's going and exercising the war power some and saying, well, what's this merger with our military by the Israelis that Netanyahu wrote letters to Congress thanking the House committee heads that passed out of committee for adding his language that he sent them. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu, who'd be in jail right now, if it wasn't for him starting all these wars, he runs Congress, he writes the legislation.
True. Netanyahu literally wrote all of the legislation, and this is all passing through. It's absolutely insane what we're living through.
And now Huckabee and him are calling it a marriage of the U.S. and Israel?
And I tell you that if the United States ever forgets its heritage and forgets the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we will not be the great nation that we have become, and we will fall. And it's why
pure insanity.
When I hear people say, is it possible that America and Israel will split apart and will no longer enjoy this extraordinary partnership?
Oh, yeah, it's possible. The younger generation is not stupid. The younger generation is waking up. This is going to be over. At the same time, we also have to realize that there is a Muslim takeover of this country, too. It's not like we can choose either Jewish religion should America be a Jewish country or should America be a Muslim country? Actually, America's a Christian country, and that's how it's always going to stay because our religion is the truth, and they just hate to admit it. Look at these two countries. They are at war with each other right now. The Jews and the Muslims, again, they are at war with one another, absolutely killing each other, completely led astray, believing that their religion is above all, believing that their words of, their rabbis or their imams can control the word of God and the voice of God, and they reject the Son of God, Jesus Christ, and the true Holy Spirit and the Holy Trinity, and they reject all of it. This is why our country is dying, because we are no longer a Christian country. Collectively, we are no longer a Christian country. A lot of you people listening are, but collectively as a nation, everybody's atheist. Everybody, I don't believe in that. Yeah, doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've done the research, chomp, chomp on the gum. It's just like, this is why our country's dying. And again, we have all these people confused, and they don't do the research on the history. And you have people like Mike Huckabee who are saying, America's a Jewish country. In America, I'm going to go to Israel. Israel is my favorite, and Israel is always going to be above the United States, and Israel should take all the land it wants. Horrible.
And I say, no. You got to understand. We're not that stupid. I hope we're never going to be that stupid. The truth is, it's like...
If it wasn't for the United States, Israel wouldn't even exist today. You understand that? All your taxpayer dollars are going to Israel. Do you know that? All your taxpayer dollars are going to fight Ukraine's war right now that we are using as a proxy to fight the Russians. Did you know that? Did you know that every single penny since 1946. We've spent about $318 billion and given $318 billion since 1946 alone. Since the inception of Israel, since they got off the ships in Palestine, we have paid for all of this to happen. All of this really stems from the Balfour Agreement in 1918, when Lord Mayor Jacob Rothschild essentially signed this deal, basically where the British government sold Palestine to the Zionist government and Zionist regime, and again, all through the Balfour Agreement. And this was basically driven forward in 1946, 1947, and that is why you see the footage of 1947. You see the Jews coming into Palestine, and they're getting off the boats into Palestine. And then they've lived with their Arabic neighbors for all this time, and then now there's this genocide and this Holocaust happening. And what happens when there's a war? There's migration. And where do they go? Ireland. Where are these Arabs going? They're coming to America. They're coming to Scotland. They're coming to Canada. They're coming to all of the white countries. Norway. Sweden is now literally a war zone. France is a war zone. You can't even go to Paris and enjoy it anymore. All because of the migration created by Israel's wars. Syrian refugees up the wazoo in all of these European countries. And if you say anything about it, you're racist. It's absolutely terrible. And Mike Huckabee stands here and says that without Israel, America wouldn't exist. No. Without America, you wouldn't exist. Without America, Israel would not exist. We pay for everything. We pay for their whole military. We fight all of their wars. Look at who's fighting Iran right now. It's the United States military. It's not the Israeli military. It's not. Very limited. Maybe you see Israeli aircraft. Maybe you see Israeli fighter jets dropping bombs, which they love to do. They love to call themselves a great military because they can drop bombs and blow everybody up. But at the end of the day, who's paying for those bombs? Who's manufacturing those bombs? Your taxpayer dollars. You. So this should infuriate you, or any Christian for that matter, or any Catholic for that matter.
An incredible marriage between Israel and the United States. And when people ask me,
no, we're getting a divorce, buddy.
Want to break up? I say, not a chance. Because neither country can afford the alimony if we ever broke up. And that's why we will be.
This guy's so lost. He really has no idea what he's talking about.
Thank you.
I don't want to marry Israel. I don't want to marry China. I don't want to marry the UK or anything. I'm not going to marry the U.S. government. This is creepy. It's rape. It's like Bill Gates wants to put poison shots in your body. It's all about making you get in bed with the Likudniks. That's not even Israel. It's like crazy, megalomaniacal, greater Israel people. They're even going against Israel's interests in the mid and long term with this disastrous war that they roped us into. So just know this. Some of these Republicans have good voting records and other things. I don't even want to hate these people. But my God, when it comes to Israel, they are agents of a foreign power. And even J.D. Vance was on Joe Rogan.
100%.
There today, but he was here in Austin yesterday. And he said, no, Israel's spending billions of dollars to basically brainwash the American people to get behind this war, paying off all these influencers and people. Call all of us that are against this war.
$7,000.
It'd be a disaster. They close the strait and mullahs wouldn't fall. Traitors. Call us Qatari agents, Iranian agents. Well, I'm not getting any Iranian or Qatari money, but you guys calling me that, you're getting Israeli money. $1.3 billion they spent the last year and a half.
Crazy.
Passed by the Knesset we know of. Imagine all the other Jewish billionaires they're doing. To finance the brainwashing of us to get into a full war. And now the Israel operatives, the guy that they replaced Massey with, is calling to implement the draft now so we can go to war for Israel and greater Israel. This is crazy. So remember who supported giving Trump a blank check and Israel a blank check in this war. And remember who supports Israel taking over basically our military. Remember that and don't forget it. America is now.
And again, there's going to be a massive attack on the United States from these Israelis. This is how they're going to go about doing it. They're going to use this entire bill and everything that you're seeing essentially to push all of this through. So again, this is Leader John Thune. Congress has successfully enacted the NDAA on a bipartisan basis for the last 65 years, and this year should be no different. But Democrats have decided, this Congress, that they want to play political games with our national security. National security. So listen to the gaslighting. So again, Democrats really don't care about Americans. Mind you, they don't care about America. Everybody thinks that the Democrats were the only ones who cared and didn't want to sell our country to Israel. No. They didn't want to pass the Save America Act. They didn't want secure and free elections, which does consist of this bill. this does allow for basically election integrity when it comes to the Save America Act. However, the National Defense Authorization Act is what the Republicans passed within this bill. None of this should have been passed. It should have been vetoed. All of this should have been completely struck from the entire conversation, or at least separated, so that we could have different votes on this. The American people should be voting on this, not Congress. But we have no say, and if you say anything about it, you're an anti-Semite, you're a racist. Oh, don't say that, or you're going to lose your job, Peter, or Joey, or whatever your name is out there. It's like, honestly, crazy. You can't talk about it, and it's the most striking issue of our country. We've never done this before in American history for any other country. And again, when it comes to this National Defense Authorization Act. So again, the Republicans keep pretending like this is, oh, the Democrats don't care about national security. That's true. They don't. But at the same time, they also are not the ones who voted for this bill to go through when it comes to Israeli with this Israeli occupation that we're seeing.
It's been a heavy week here in the United States Senate with the tragic and unexpected passing of Senator Lindsey Graham.
Tragic and unexpected passing of Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was a warmonger. Lindsey Graham has been in Congress forever, and he is the reason behind so many wars we fought. Lindsey Graham has been promoting this entire Ukraine war, which Americans are paying for with their taxes. Again, Lindsey Graham has said himself that Israel is the greatest country on earth. I'm here for Israel, not for you. I covered this in my live stream 2 days ago, where I literally showed a YouTube short. You can go back on my YouTube channel and watch it, where Lindsey Graham is saying, I'm not for you, I'm for Israel. I'm not for you, I'm for Israel. Forget it. And he literally states that he is Israel first. So again, Lindsey Graham is a complete and total warmonger. He is somebody who's wanted to keep us in this Iran war forever now, and basically has run away from all forms of diplomacy. And he was also a homosexual, and a lot of people don't want to admit that, but he was. He was. And so this is a man who literally was so anti-American that he wanted to kill. How many American soldiers have died because of Lindsey Graham sending us to these needless wars that we don't need to be in, that are strategically non-beneficial to the United States? Like, again, example, why would we be enemies with Russia when they're the second greatest nuclear superpower on earth? Why would we be enemies with them? Tell me that. But for all this time, we've been being told how the Russians are bad. Russians, oh, bad Russia, communist Russia. Are they communist? I think we're more communist than Russia is. Russia's literally taken out all of their GMO. They've cured 20 different kinds of cancer in the past, 5 years since Trump got elected again. Russia is completely an Orthodox Christian country. Russia has a healthy population and basically all white population. They haven't allowed in hundreds of millions of illegal aliens into this country like we have. Again, so Russia is the bad guy? My point is, Senator Lindsey Graham was going against the Russians for all this time, when Russia should be one of our greatest allies. We should be working with the Russians. And that is something Trump wanted to do at the beginning of his term in 2016. He wanted to work with the Russians. And again, Senator Lindsey Graham does not want to work with the Russians, right? And so when he died at 71 years old, Lindsey Graham, I think he was poisoned personally, in my opinion. He was literally, I think he was killed, either bombed at this Ukrainian drone factory, manufacturing factory. One of the last pictures that was shown of him, he was in this Ukrainian drone factory holding up a drone. And then he was somehow on a train back to basically on a train to go on a flight back to the United States. And then basically he severed his aorta. And so that was allegedly how he died. Cardiac arrest, severance of the aorta somehow. I think he was poisoned by the Russians potentially, or it was an inside job, or America, our own people killed him because he's been pushing this war that we shouldn't really be in. That's, who knows what happened, whether it was natural causes or foul play. But ultimately, you have all of these Trump MAGA Congress people. Tragic death of Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham has costed the American taxpayer so much money, it's not even funny. So again, let's just listen to what Thune has to say about this NDAA HR 8800 passing, calling it basically camouflaging this as the Save America Act, bundling it all together.
He was a great American patriot. He was a
he wasn't.
Champion for the Republican Party, and for many of us, he was a trusted and
so
loyal
cringe.
friend
Lindsey Graham was
advisor.
literally a warmonger,
So,
and he killed so many
mourn his
American
loss.
soldiers.
And we welcome his beloved sister Darlene here to the United States Senate. She will take up his duties and responsibilities as a senator for the state of South Carolina. And I say all this in the context of, I wish we had Lindsey here, because right now we are dealing with an important national security matter, the National Defense Authorization Act, something that Congress has done every year now for the last 60 years.
Lindsey Graham would have loved this bill, by the way. Lindsey Graham would have been so in favor of H.R. 8800 Section 219, giving the Israeli military full fusion with the U.S. military and control over all of our technology, intelligence, information. Literally a part of the bill that was written by Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. Insane.
5 years. And yesterday, we had what was simply a motion to proceed to get on the bill. Actually, it was a cloture motion to proceed to get on the bill.
These people are such traitors.
Democrats,
Tom Cotton is sitting right next to him. He's also a massive traitor to this country. One of the main funders of this entire bill. Paid by AIPAC, by the way. Just like Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who came out, covering all of this and saying that the Save America Act is for America. It's like, yeah, but you're not talking about the NDAA, H.R. 8800. They're very silent on that.
Every single one. And that, my friends, I believe is really unfortunate. This is an issue that ought to be bipartisan. It's about the national security interest of this country. And the Democrats seem to be dug in and willing to play politics with America's vital national security interests. This is not about funding for Iran. This is something we do on an annual basis, and we have for the last 65 years in a row. So I am hopeful that at some point the Democrats will come to their senses and realize that national security ought to be a priority.
Oh, Israel's going to be trying to pay them off, don't worry.
And we will give them more opportunities in which to change that vote and to express their support for even moving forward and having a debate. And by the way, I would add that there were 38 Democrat amendments that were included in the National Defense Authorization Act that we tried to get up on the floor yesterday. So national security is important to this country.
National security is so important to this country, so let's destroy our national security and completely create the greatest national security threat by allowing another foreign government to have full control over our military. Real smart. These people are literally just bought off by Israel. You should assume that. You should know that. All of these Republicans are completely bought off, A, or B, they're completely and totally blackmailed.
Security is important to this country. The Democrats have a pattern going back now over a year of not wanting to pay air traffic controllers, not wanting to pay border security personnel.
Democrats.
And in this particular case, holding hostage.
You guys are the ones in
pay
control.
Increases for our men and women in uniform. That is really unfortunate and unprecedented, and I certainly hope that soon they'll come to their senses.
Insane. Come to their senses. Pass the National Defense Authorization Act so Israel can have more control over our government. Yes, we want more AIPAC money. How could they be against that? Honestly, it makes you wonder. It makes you lose faith in your entire country and in your entire congressional system. Like, honestly, we used to have Americans who would literally die for their country. We had Americans who used to believe in the concept of loyalty to America first. And, now we have, hey, if you pay me $50 million, then, hey, I'll shut up. Hey, if you pay me $5. Hey, a lot of these, what's sad is it's not even those numbers. Israel's not even offering $50 million. They're offering like $2 million. They're offering like somehow under $1 million. Sometimes Israel's literally AIPAC, through AIPAC, they're offering these politicians like less than $20,000, and they're still selling out their country. We have the weakest political system ever, weakest politicians ever. They have no balls. And again, all of the congresswomen are total liberals, and they don't stand for anything. And all of the great political people we had have been pushed out completely. Again, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was completely pushed out. Again, completely demonized by Trump. We have the Thomas Masseys, completely demonized, pushed out by Trump. And again, you have all these Lindsey Grahams, you have these Thunes, you have all of these Mike Johnsons who are masquerading as patriotic, founding father-like Republicans who care about America first, when actually they're taking money from AIPAC. There's never been a greater occupation from a country of this, to this extent, where they're just taking money up the wazoo. They're not even taking like a lot of money. They're like taking bribes that are like $1.7 million or something like that is what Mike Johnson has taken. Donald Trump took $250 million from Mary Adelson. We have, again, Marco Rubio, who's a potential presidential candidate, major Zionist. He's taken millions of dollars of AIPAC money. I don't know if it's millions, honestly. I don't know the exact figure. I know it's a lot of money, though. I know for sure that Marco Rubio has taken money from AIPAC. And, again, these are total Zionists. You have J.D. Vance, who's probably going to be elected president, but he doesn't seem to want to do anything about Israel. He was also a never-Trumper before he even, came into the equation. He said that publicly in interviews. He's never-Trumper. He's like massive deep state. He's funded by Peter Thiel, funded by the deep state. Literally, he is what the deep state is. Marco Rubio, he is what the deep state is. And then, yet, all of these people since 2016 have now become everybody around Trump and circulating Trump. We are being occupied, and this is what it looks like. Hey, sir, would you like $50 million? Oh, I'm sorry, not even $50 million, which would be like a bribe that a lot of politicians, I could understand that they would take that. No. A lot of these politicians aren't even taking that money. They're taking literally $1 million, $2 million. Really? Your whole country? That's all you sell it for? Seriously? Just the worst politicians ever. So Marjorie Taylor Greene said on X, every Republican senator voted to merge our military with Israel's military. The most America last thing you could possibly do, selling our military out to a foreign country. It's absolute treason and betrayal. Yeah, and then, okay, I didn't notice this post underneath it. We don't condone violence with all of this, by the way, but we are just saying, this is a total occupation of our country. We do need to have a revolution at this point. A peaceful one at that, legally, lawfully, politically. This is why you need to run for politics. This is why, in your local community, you need to run for politics. But this is the war. This image encapsulates everything. They want you to think that this war is all against the Muslims. Where, yeah, the Muslims are a huge problem in America. But who is letting the Muslims in? The people who serve this flag right here. The Israelis, or the Israel First Americans. All these Israeli Americans, Israel First Americans, Zionists, they are the ones in power because they've run for politics and they've occupied these positions and of your communities. And what's happening? They're basically taking over without any issue, and they're letting in all of these Muslims. They're bringing in all of these mosques. And so they are the ones who are doing this to your country. Absolutely insane. It's complete and total treason. It should be totally unacceptable by the American people. But this is what's happening. You look at this, and this is what's happening. Listen to this video. This is Netanyahu literally admitting that he's basically using the United States to basically squeezing every penny out of the United States, running United States politicians like a marionette. Lead conversation between Netanyahu and other Israelis from 2001. America is something that you can easily maneuver and move in the right direction. And even if they say something, so what? 80% of Americans support us. It's absurd. Not anymore. About 60% of Americans do not support Israel at this current time. And that number is only growing because of days like this, where, again, Congress has just sold you out to a foreign nation. So again, reading the subtitles, pay the price. So far, the price tag is not unbearable. I mean, a large attack in Palestine. Fear is what brings them to it. Hold on, but what again will the world say, and why will they say we're the aggressors? They can say whatever they want, Netanyahu says. Aren't you afraid of what they'll say, Bibi? Especially today with the U.S., I know how they are. America is something that you can easily maneuver and move in the right direction, he says. And even if they say something, so then they say something. So what? 80% of Americans support us. It's absurd. Look, I wasn't afraid to maneuver. I wasn't afraid to confront Clinton. I wasn't afraid to go against the UN. What happened with the Oslo Accords? The Accords, I was asked, hold on, let me remind that. He said the Accords which were ratified by Parliament. I was asked before the 1996 elections, Netanyahu says. Will you fulfill them? I said yes, subject to the reciprocity and minimizing business. I gave my own interpretation to the agreements in such a war. That will allow me to stop the race back towards the 1967 borders. How did we manage to do this? Nobody defined what the military facilities are, so I also defined them as being security zones. The entire Jordan Valley, for me, is a military facility. Nobody has, yes, like the Bayan Sheen Valley, the Biat Shit Valley. You see, go figure. But then there was a question of who will define these military facilities? Netanyahu says, I received a letter from the Secretary of State Warren Commission to me and to Arafat at the same time, saying that Israel, and Israel alone, will define the military facilities, their locations, and size. Now they didn't want to give me this letter. So I refused to ratify the Hebron Accords of 1997. I stopped the government meeting and I said, I won't sign. And only when the letter has arrived during that meeting, and to me, and to Arafat, I signed the Arafat Accords. It's better to give 2% than 1%, and this is the choice. This is the choice we face. You gave 2%, but stopped the withdrawal rather than 100%. So again, that's Netanyahu literally years and years ago, basically saying that he owns America, that he's going to pay off American politicians like this. Absolutely just asinine. We are really just shooting ourselves in the foot as a country. This is how you lose America. Representative Anna Paula Luna, the House will literally attach voter ID and proof of citizenship to every single piece of legislation we send to the Senate. So again, America isn't buying it. Watch Treasury Secretary Scott Bennett tell Fox News that the audit of the Fort Knox has been canceled and the unwashed masses should just trust me, bro. So again, big statement. So again, this is more Alex Jones coverage of this entire thing. Whether or not you like Alex Jones, I think he gives a pretty in-depth analysis of what this actually is with this NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, HR 8800. I think he gives some pretty good coverage here. So we are going to cover this and what he has to say about it, because it's true. We are absolutely being occupied by the Israelis. Same time, we're also being occupied by the Muslims. This is happening too. We're being hit from two sides as Americans, and we basically have no say. This is, again, why it is so important that you run for politics in your local government. This is all you should care about, is running for your local politics and getting to know people who are politically engaged, because if you don't, your country will be taken over by the wrong people.
Read Section 219 of the Defense Authorization Act 2027. It says dozens of times, merger, synchronize, real time, integrate.
That's
the Israeli military and intelligence into DARPA and the intelligence agencies and the weapons manufacturers and the private weapons developers, and you have to go through them jointly and no secrecy when Israel's famous for spying on us. And then you have Netanyahu and you have Ben-Gvir and you have all these Republicans that are Zionists saying, we're marrying Israel. This is a marriage. Huckabee, all of them. This is a marriage. This deal in the Defense Authorization Act is a marriage. Well, I mean, I don't even think of it as I'm married to Uncle Sam. I don't think of it as I'm married to the American Republic. Not on me, or vice versa. I'm sorry to be gross here, but you're not breaking our will. We're not going along with you. Our long surrender to all of these different predatory groups or organizations is over. And that's the beginning of turning the tide.
Real time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one little good encapsulation of really what that is, though. And it's absolute treason. We cannot allow this in our country. I mean, it's really that simple. It's really that simple. At the end of the day, you can't allow your country to be just taken over by these complete and total trainers. Harrison Smith of InfoWars also said, or the Alex Jones live show, he also said, this is my red line. This is, if this passes into law, I am voting straight Democrat in November. I don't need, see, this is what they want. See, if you vote Democrat, you're going to get you're going to get even more illegal immigration in your country. They're going to open the borders wide open. It's going to be hell. And at the end of the day, it's like, you really have no choice. You have no good options. It's either vote for the Republicans, the Zionist Republicans, the Israel First Republicans, who are going to sell out our country to another foreign country, literally, or you have the Democrats who are going to sell out our country to literally millions and millions and millions of foreigners. And so basically there's no getting out of this. America is occupied by literally both the Israeli military and then the Muslim caliphate, really the Islamic takeover of America, the Islamification of America. So you have both of these things happening simultaneously. Democrats represent the Islamification of America. The Israelis represent the Greater Israel Project in the United States of Israel and basically occupying America. They've occupied America for a long time. And so people might say, well, that's okay. Israel's our greatest ally. That's what they tell you, but they're not. Not when they're doing stuff like this. This is complete and total treason. J.D. Vance, a single ballot cast illegally in an American election is in fact the theft of the ballot from another American citizen.
Before voting.
So again, as much as it's great that we did pass the Save America Act, the issue is that it is attached to the NDAA HR 8800 Section 219, which used to be Section 224. And this gives Israel full control over our military, essentially.
You mentioned that the administration...
This guy's going to do nothing, in my opinion. This is why I don't think people should vote for him. I would rather vote for Marco Rubio over J.D. Vance any day, even though Marco Rubio is a total Zionist shill and he's taking money from Sheldon Adelson. Listen, at the end of the day, I still would rather vote for J.D. Vance over Marco Rubio any day, all day long.
Priority right now is passing the Save America Act. Even if it were passed tomorrow, there's not enough time for it to be implemented before voting starts for the November midterm elections. That being said, will the administration support the results of the midterm elections come November, regardless of what they look like?
Well, look, of course we're going to support the results.
Will you support the election results? So what does that question really mean? They want to know, are you going to do the same thing that Trump did in 2016 and say that it's a rigged election? And are you going to go through all this trouble of suing all these states and counties that have basically allegedly committed election fraud or voter fraud, which they did, in my opinion. I watched the election. I watched Joe Biden get 50,000 votes like overnight, like literally over like an hour, and it just shot up and he suddenly had more votes than Trump. I had people in my police academy saying, well, I really do think that Biden won. I think he really won. And like, you're idiots, you know, like whoever, like the guy who said that in my academy, it's just like, you're so stupid. You don't pay attention, you know, really. But honestly, when I look at everything happening, this is what this question means. You know, nobody talks about the Dominion voting systems. Nobody talks about this software that basically has a backtrack system where it can change the votes and then there will be no trace of anything that was changed. That's part of what the software does. Really Israeli software, by the way. And so absolutely insane. And they're going to do the same thing they did in 2016. They're going to steal the election, or 2020, I mean. They're going to do the same thing they did in 2020, and they're going to steal the election, and at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever the Israelis want in power. The Israelis control the United States of America at this point in time. Until Congress, and the Senate especially, really turns down this entire bill and everything that this stands for, which, again, the Save America Act, good. NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, bad. Both of these things are tied into the same bill. That's why I'm against this. Because as much as I do want secure and fair elections, you also cannot attach this to a bill that allows another foreign country to basically occupy your entire intelligence agencies, basically to have full control, knowledge, training, everything, integration, fusion, marriage with the United States military and everything we're doing. Absolutely insane. We've never done that before in American history.
Also, the midterm elections, we think we're going to win, but ultimately that's up to the American people. But we also think we have to do everything that we can to discourage cheating. Because you will hear Democrats sometimes say, and I love this line, I can't help but laugh at it, cheating isn't that frequent in American elections. Any frequency at all is a problem. A single ballot cast illegally in an American election is in fact the theft of the ballot from another American citizen, from an American citizen who deserves to be able to vote. So you're right, you know, the elections in some ways, the process is already getting started for 2026.
We're so cooked.
But you don't pass a piece of legislation because you think you're going to immediately benefit from it. You pass a piece of legislation because you think the American people are going to benefit from it over the long haul. We have to do it. Save America is not mainly about 2026, to your question. It's actually about saving America's elections well into the future. Yeah.
We are so cooked.
Tomorrow the president's
because this guy's going to do nothing about Israel.
Speech on the elections.
Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. So again, this is the man standing to J.D. Vance's left right here is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. He would be president if, in the case, both J.D. Vance and Donald Trump were killed, it would be Mike Johnson who would be president. This guy's taken over $1.5 million from AIPAC. So it's like all of our politicians are bought and paid for by Israel or the tech oligarchy, which is J.D. Vance, paid for by Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. And so at the end of the day, you can say that it's a good thing, whatever. Maybe it is. I don't think it's going to be. And this is also a man, J.D. Vance, who has an Indian wife. He has Indian children. What do you think he's going to do with H-1B visas? He's going to allow a lot more of those to come into our country. It's not going to be good.
Republicans here want him to focus on the 2026 midterms and not to relitigate his claims about the 2020 elections. Would you encourage him to steer clear of those unfounded claims that he is actually the true victor of the 2020 elections?
I love these questions, the unfounded claims. You're basically assuming an answer in the very question that you ask. Manu, what I'd say is we can do a lot. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm
so sick of hearing that from politicians. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's like, where did that even come from? Honestly, it's like kind of the dumbest statement I've ever heard.
Many things. We got the one big beautiful bill passed that cut taxes on Social Security, cut taxes on tips, cut taxes on overtime, delivered thousands of additional...
Nobody's getting tax cuts. This is all for the billionaires and the rich. And I'm not against the rich. I don't believe in eat the rich or any of that. But it's like whenever they tell you, we're cutting taxes, they're cutting taxes for the rich. They're cutting taxes for corporations and companies. Not you, America. They're not. You're not getting tax cuts. You're not. And at the end of the day, you're not getting kind of tax refunds, are you? Where's the $5,000 Doge checks? Where's your massive tax refund? Have you received it? Have you seen any of that? No. Have you seen closed borders here? No. I mean, and now again, the Trump administration. Well, thankfully for Trump said that ICE needs to continue making traffic stops on these illegal immigrants in our country, which is great. But at the same time, you have overall the Republican Party and members of the Republican Party and even people in ICE who don't want to continue with the traffic stops and they want to just let all of this illegal immigration happen because they're getting scared by the leftist media. And it's absolutely insane.
Dollars into the pockets of the average American family. We're very proud of that. It's one of the things that we talked about in there was we need to talk about.
That's not true.
We need to tell the American people all the amazing benefits that are in those working families' tax cuts. We also have a lot of other things going on in the country. The president's going to talk about a number of things tomorrow night. I'm obviously not going to get ahead of his remarks, but we can talk about a number of the American people's problems. We can solve a number of the American people's problems, and that's exactly what we're going to work with our House colleagues and our Senate friends to do.
How are you going to get this?
That's just, it's rough. It's rough. So again, we're going to watch some more clips later. But again, I wanted to formally discuss what is NDAA HR 8800 Section 219, which used to be formerly 224 of this entire bill. What does it mean? Section 219, formerly Section 224 of the fiscal year 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, proposes establishing a United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. It directs the Department of Defense to appoint an executive agent to accelerate the integration of Israeli-developed technologies and defense systems into the U.S. military across domains like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and autonomous systems. These are the same people who literally killed the entire Hamas leadership with pager bombs. And we want to let these people build our military technology. Again, they did this to their own neighbors, their Arabic neighbors of whom they lived with since 1947. They created pager bombs that these Arabs bought through shell companies, and essentially these pager bombs exploded, killed like pretty much all of the Hamas leadership. Very Breaking Bad, won't lie, kind of an awesome assassination overall, kind of a great way to do it. But ultimately, who's to say they can't put this in your iPhone? Did you know after the iPhone 17 it's going to be produced in Israel? Manufactured, the semiconductors, all the chips, all of this is going to be made in Israel. Did you know that? Isn't it kind of a problem? This is going to be a mass terrorist event. Netanyahu has already said there's going to be another 9/11 in America because of anti-Semitism. And now we know that 9/11 was done by the Israelis, mixed with a couple Muslim hijackers of whom were pawns and patsies. Think about it. You had the dancing Israelis. You had Mossad, which is basically CIA, one and the same. They were created basically at the exact same time. CIA was created in 1947. Mossad was created in 1948. Same thing. Okay. And what is the motto of the Mossad? By way of deception, thou shalt create war. So you're all being lied to, and this is what it is. This is what they're going to do. This is going to be how the Israelis take over America. This is how they're going to have a mass event against people like me talking about it. And they are going to have an organized system where they truly target America, the same way that they did Hamas. And then they are going to blame it on Iran or some other country. They will get away with it because it will be the U.S. military who did it. It won't be the Israeli military because they'll be fused with us. We'll be the same military. But yet there will be these breakaway parts of these intelligence agencies that will be obviously dedicated to this Israel First, Greater Israel Project movement. So this is horrible. It directs the Department of Defense to appoint an executive agent to accelerate the integration of Israeli-developed technologies and defense systems into the U.S. military across domains like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and autonomous systems. The provision authorizes joint research, development, testing, and co-production of military equipment. Critics, such as civil rights and watchdog organizations, argue this permanently embeds Israeli technology into U.S. supply chains and bypasses standard congressional appropriations. So again, your iPhone, your laptops, who's to say they can't put a little something in there and target you if you say anything against the state of Israel and take you out? And then it just looks like this accident. Don't worry, it was only the U.S. military who did it. The measure has drawn pushback from a bipartisan coalition of lawmakers. Representative Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna introduced an amendment to strip Section 219 from the House version of the NDAA, arguing it poses an unprecedented entanglement of U.S. and foreign militaries. Yet all of the Republicans voted yes on this. The House Armed Services Committee advanced the bill with the Provision Act. White House leadership initially blocked the Massey-Khanna amendment from receiving a floor vote. They blocked it. They said, no, we want the Israeli military to take over our country. Get out of here, Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna. Get out of here. We want our country. We want to sell America out to the Israelis. We want Israel to attack us later in the future when we have disagreements with the way they do things. We want Israel to have control over all of our intelligence agencies and technology. Yes, we are Israel first. We want more AIPAC money. This is literally what's happening. The House, so again, this is really what's going on. Opponents continue to rally against the measure of NDAA legislative process unfolds. Yes, the Senate's companion version includes similar language under Section 217. 1 to 17. Track the ongoing legislative progress of the House bill and Senate bill using the Congress.gov NDAA tracker. Read further on the criticisms regarding military sovereignty on common dreams, or review the text of the provision via AIPAC memos. So this is really just this is how you take over a country, and we are being taken over. Anybody who disagrees is either stupid or they're in on it. Period. Plain and simple. Meanwhile, let's go back to the U.S. soil news and what's happening with ICE. Trump says ICE should do traffic stops despite new suspension after shootings. So again, President Donald Trump said Wednesday that Immigration and Customs Enforcement should continue traffic stops after 2 deadly shootings within a week, seeming to contradict a new policy to halt them, to remove criminals from the country. We cannot give up one of ICE's most important and effective crime-fighting tools, the traffic stop, the president wrote on social media. The AP reported a day earlier that Trump administration officials told ICE officers to suspend most vehicle traffic stops, a change in the directive that followed after an ICE officer shot and killed a driver on Monday in Maine, and another ICE officer shot and killed a motorist in Houston a week earlier. They should have added after these motorists tried to run over the ICE agents and kill them, after these motorists tried to resist and obstruct arrest and lawful arrest, lawful law enforcement investigations, federal law enforcement investigations. Renewing criticism of the agency's enforcement tactics, both shootings invoked a familiar narrative. Federal officers said they opened fire on a driver who weaponized their vehicle against them. Okay, they did put it in there. Important, because that's felonious assault. Using your vehicle to hit somebody is absolutely felonious assault. Nonetheless, when you are using it as a weapon against police, federal law enforcement officers, yeah, that's a felony offense. You should be in prison for at least 10 years for that minimum. In Florida on Tuesday, a third man in roughly a week died in an encounter with immigration agents after he was hit by a tractor trailer while fleeing federal officers. Oh, while fleeing federal officers. Look at that, while fleeing federal officers. That's interesting. It's always while they're fleeing federal officers, while they're resisting the law, while they're breaking the law. At least 10 people have been killed during immigration operations since the start of the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign. So again, this is huge. So ultimately, good news for ICE. We need ICE. We need more ICE. We need more ICE agents out there. More law enforcement should be in ICE. It's just there's never been a more important time in this country. We have over 100 million illegal immigrants in this country. That's a fact. And they should be sent home with their families and deported 100%. That's basic homeland security and national security. That is the matter. That's a matter of actually protecting your borders. It's what they do. That's what ICE is there for, is to protect immigration policy and to protect the borders, along with CBP, Border Patrol.
President Donald Trump is publicly pushing back against his own administration. The president urged that immigration and customs enforcement
This is like common
vehicle
sense.
traffic stops, seeming to oppose a new suspension of the practice used as part of his immigration crackdown. In a Truth Social post, Trump said, quote, "The men and women of ICE are doing a great job, one that has to be done." He also said that in order to remove criminals he claims were let into the country under the previous Democratic administration, we cannot give up on one of ICE's most important and effective crime-fighting tools, the traffic stop. But it comes after Trump administration officials told ICE officers to suspend most vehicle stops after 2 deadly shootings within a week. The suspension was ordered after an ICE officer shot and killed a Colombian driver in Maine, and a week after another officer shot and killed a motorist in Houston. The deaths renewed criticism.
Who tried to use his vehicle to run over ICE agents? Who weaponized his vehicle against ICE agents? Yes.
Of the agency's enforcement tactics.
And look at all the people defending this. Always the white liberals. Always the dumbest people in the country. The lowest IQ people in this country. Literally all the time. Every single time. And then half of them boomers here who know nothing. These people are just the most... I won't say it. These people have no brains. And they are defending these immigrants coming into their countries while their tax... See, none of these people have jobs. So they don't understand that their taxes... They don't have to pay taxes. So their taxes... Well, they do, right? But they don't. Because they don't have jobs. So they don't understand that people who actually have jobs and have to pay taxes and do it legally, their taxes are paying for illegal immigrants to have housing and to buy expensive real estate in this country. Again, I say that as a real estate agent, not to discriminate, but it's just like, truly, we have a real immigration problem in this country from a national security standpoint, 100%. And it is always our own people. How can we ever move this forward when we have our own people basically in mass droves that are psychologically brainwashed, completely MK Ultra and brain dead, and defending these illegal immigrants, swarming into our country, taking your property, taking your land, your birthright, literally taking your birthright, 14th Amendment.
That were widely condemned.
Oh, look, more boomers. This guy looks like he's about to die. This guy looks like he literally is going to go play bingo later. This lady looks like she is a complete and total liberal and voted Democrat every single year of her life. This lady looks like she wore a mask every year, and she's also looks un-American. This lady over here looks like she has no idea what's going on, mouths wide open, total mouth breathers. Look at these boomers, all like in their 60s, 70s, completely lost, completely detached from reality. They look like zombies. Look at this lady in the back where my cursor is. She, another person, all their mouths are like wide open, like, no more ice, no more ice, no. These are zombies and completely detached from reality. All too focused on their real estate that they're never going to sell for their kids, never going to give an inheritance. Many of them probably don't even have a jobs. All of them, mouths wide open, just mouth breathers. No idea what's going on in this country.
Last winter, after the killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good.
Alex Preddy was literally attacking ICE agents. He was getting in the way of lawful federal investigations. Alex Preddy, did you know that he was literally a part of a movement tracking ICE vehicles? He was literally a part of this leftist movement that was tracking and doxing ICE agents and getting their names, addresses, and putting them online so that they could be killed. Alex Preddy is not a hero. Renee Good, this lady that's in the picture here, this lady is the lady who tried to run over an ICE agent and got shot in the face because literally the ICE agent was standing right in front of the vehicle, rams the ICE agent, and then he obviously used the subject control continuum perfectly. He went one level above. She weaponizes her entire vehicle to ram the ICE agent. He pulls his gun and kills her. Yeah. So at the end of the day, this is going to happen when you try to kill an ICE agent with your car. you can expect that you might get shot. Common sense. But we're dealing with the dumbest people who have ever lived in the history of America. And so we have to coddle and rock these people like they're little babies and just pat them on the butt and say, it's okay, honey. Like, literally, these people are total criminals. And half of these, look at more boomers. And then the people who are not white liberals and boomers, of course they're all like illegals. You got one lady in the far back left here on the image wearing a hijab. One lady's looks like she's raising up the Black Lives Matter fist. Again, completely a racist movement, completely a totally hate group. And then, again, all these other people look like they're not even Americans themselves.
Minnesota.
Crazy. Absolutely insane. We are literally, our country is getting just dominated by these kinds of lunatics. The left is full of idiots. And we're going to have to choose between the Zionist Republican Party and the radical left for this November election and the midterm elections, and then eventually when 2028 comes around. It's going to be absolutely insane. We're literally letting our country die. So news on the Iran war. U.S. military carries out another wave of strikes. The U.S. military has launched a second wave of strikes against Iran, with CENTCOM saying they're targeting Iranian military capabilities used to threaten vessels freely transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's top negotiator and parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, says the country has never welcomed war, nor do we now, adding that we must always be prepared for battle and stand firm to protect our national security and interests. At least 35 people have been killed and 300 wounded in U.S. attacks on southern Iran over the past few days, Iran's health ministry says. A 13-missile barrage fired by the United States in the south has killed 7 Iranian troops in what military called cowardly aggression, while vowing retaliation, which they have done. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, says it attacked U.S. military vessels in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, and claimed heavy damage on the U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters. Absolutely a fact that did happen. So again, this is from Al Jazeera.
The United States has bombed at least half a dozen towns and cities on Iran's southern coast in the past 24 hours. President Donald Trump says the strikes will stop when he says so. But lost in all the politics are the people from this area who are bearing the brunt of renewed escalation. So let's take a look at this region, which is at the centre of a global crisis. Iran's southern coast is unique, as are its people. It's home to the ethnically diverse Afro-Iranian community. Here, you'll also find some of the country's most lauded landscapes, from Resh, Bandar Abbas to Hormuz Island. The US is bombing these places again. This is a port on Kish Island. It's an important free trade zone. You can see boats are on fire. The region is energy rich too. Iran's South Pars gas field is here in the Gulf, and so too is a lot of the country's oil infrastructure. For example, Kharg Island handles about 90% of the country's crude oil exports. These islands are strategic given their location overlooking the Strait of Hormuz, and as such, they've been in the crosshairs since the US and Israel launched the war on February 28 and are again in the firing line. Aside from energy, this region is known for its maritime activities. A lot of communities here rely on fishing and the sea to make ends meet. But US and Israeli strikes have not just caused safety or financial problems, but environmental ones. During the last round of war, they bombed Iran's Lavan refinery, for example, which caused oil to spill into the sea. This video is from Shidvar Island, which is a wildlife refuge. The pollution from that bombing and others like it spread up and down the coast. The US says it's bombing IRGC boats and posts to stop them harassing ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but Iranian officials contend otherwise.
Just saying, again, this is over 6,000 miles away from the United States. Are we really going to be able to send more military technology and all of our logistics? Is this really going to work out for America? I mean, this really makes no sense. And the Israelis I see doing nothing, by the way. It seems to me like the United States is doing all the work fighting the Iranian military right now, the IRGC, at this current time. And what are we getting out of it? Nothing.
For example, they accuse the US of bombing an environmental protection building in the Hormuz.
What a waste of a war. Like, if we're going to have a war, you would think that we would actually be more strategic about how we're going to do it. What a waste.
Gun village of Sayed Jozar, killing the family of a park ranger. Trump says US representatives held talks with Iran on Tuesday, and if there's no deal by next week, the US is going to target civilian infrastructure like power plants and bridges. We don't know where.
And again, we already know that today the United States targeted a watchtower in, can't pronounce the place, but that happened, and that was in the Strait of Hormuz, and essentially that basically gives the Israelis and the United States full control over the skies over Tehran. So pretty crazy.
The politics of this war will go, but the consequences are once again plain to see.
So again, that report comes from Al Jazeera, but that's pretty much what's going on in the Iran war right now. It's tit-for-tat strikes, back-to-back, and when we look at a lot of it, again, U.S. forces fired Hellfire missiles on an oil tanker attempting to get to Iran's Karg Island. The ship attempted to ignore a U.S. naval blockade, so an American aircraft launched missiles into the ship's home stack, disabling it. So again, there's some footage of this strike. So again, this is unclassified footage directly from CENTCOM. And again, what we're seeing is basically the precursor to the United States and the Trump administration wanting to take Karg Island. Okay, so we're about to look at marine traffic here in a few minutes and to verify and look at any kind of patterns happening. So again, let's just take a look at that. Marinetraffic.com. So we're always monitoring marinetraffic.com, really seeing what's going on when it comes to all of these different movements. Okay, so what's new in the Strait of what's the news in the Strait of Hormuz? So again, we still have these false vessels that are sitting here. Again, you'll typically see like the Jersey Devil 404. Anytime you see like a 404, the all caps, typically these are fake vessels. These are decoy vessels. These are not really here. These are made to basically get analysts off course and to troll analysts like myself. So those aren't real vessels. You had, again, Iranian crude oil tankers right near the blockade here. This is where the blockade is pretty much taking place. And then again, a lot of anchored down vessels over here near Fujairah, same kind of pattern. And then Qasem Island, this is basically a lot of the areas that have been getting struck by the United States right here. And then Bandar Abbas, where you just heard the report come from out of Al Jazeera. Right here, the United States has bombed. Qasem Island has been bombed. Again, Hormuz Island has been bombed. And these other areas as well as Kagan. A lot of these different areas. And then these other islands as well. The Greater Tun Island. A lot of different mini islands throughout the entire Strait of Hormuz. Right? We're seeing a lot of action happening with all of this. So a lot of territory. A lot of trade zones. A lot of activity in the Persian Gulf. Ultimately, it's the same kind of stuff that we're seeing when we check the activity every single night. There's no new patterns, really. We do have more anchored vessels near Qatar. Again, Qatar pays for a lot of our journalists, a lot of our media. Tucker Carlson's a big advocate of Qatar. I suspect that he's getting paid by the Qataris. And again, you have a lot of bombings that are happening here in these areas. So these strategic zones, these strategic power plants and military zones of not Bandar Abbas, again, Qatar, are getting hit by the Iranians. So a lot of things happening when we look at this entire area. And so ultimately, very interesting when we look at the maps and everything that's going on here. So Qatar's getting hit. We have Bahrain and military bases in Bahrain that are getting hit. Lots of activity. And basically, we're seeing continued airstrikes, retaliation happening from the Iranians. So again, when you look at all of this, you can see airports, different things happening when it comes to where everything's going at, everything going on. So when I look at the map, what I see is a continued struggle for the United States to really secure the Persian Gulf or Karg Island here. This is where an Iranian vessel was struck for trying to get to Karg Island, basically for imports/exports, and basically that's what happens on Karg Island. It's basically like a massive facility for power, energy, imports, exports, and this is why Trump wants it so bad. As you can see, a lot of different power plants here, areas of focus for the U.S. military. This is why they want it so bad. So this is really why the United States military wants Karg Island. A lot of imports, exports. This is what's coming. And so this is why, again, the U.S. military attacked a vessel, an Iranian vessel, going to this island. So going to be interesting to see if Trump's actually going to be able to really take this. But look at how tiny it is. Look at geographically where it's located. The Iranians already secure the position. It's right off the coast of Iran, directly smack dab in the middle of the Persian Gulf, surrounded by these areas. Now we have Kuwait that would be able to somehow protect, again, against any kind of attacks on Karg Island, but they're getting attacked right now. They can barely defend themselves. And there's limited interceptions happening when the Iranians are actually striking. They're getting through. They were able to basically strike the U.S. Fifth Fleet, which was in Kuwait. So, dangerous stuff's going on. Then we have the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is the second important choke point for the United States. I'm surprised that the Iranians or the Yemens haven't closed this choke point yet, because that's the next thing to happen. And so, again, the only reason this hasn't happened is because China needs those straits open, too. China enjoys a lot of the fruits of this entire oil run that we're seeing here. And then same thing through the exports that happened in the Strait of Hormuz, or the Red Sea here on the west side of Saudi Arabia. Suez Canal, a lot of anchored vessels here. Still limited movements going through the Suez Canal, as you can see. And then most of these anchored LPG and LNG tankers still clustered, still anchored down. These little circles represent anchored down vessels. And a lot of these are proxy vessels to the United States. We use different nations and different national flags to kind of masquerade and cover our movements. But especially Liberian flags. When you see a Liberian flag on marine traffic, you can pretty much depend on the fact that that's likely a U.S. vessel. So this is what it's all about. This is the war. Nothing's changed. Everything's the same as it was months ago. We are still at war with Iran. Insurance companies are not feeling great about it. They think that it's going to continue going on, so they're anchoring down all these crude oil tankers and vessels. There maybe 3-4 vessels are getting through the Strait of Hormuz a day, maybe sometimes a week. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of success. And so everybody's forced to go on the southern horn of Africa here in the Cape of Good Hope. So when it comes to this entire movement, again, all these imports and exports, it's going to be relying on Sri Lanka pretty soon here, which is southern India, and a big location for other exports that happen with the United States and marine traffic. So we're basically seeing a lot of increased activity in southern Sri Lanka, which is a massive zone for trade for the United States. So also very important to pay attention to what's always going on here. You'll see constant movement here, especially with all of this essentially interrupted traffic, where we would normally be going through the Strait of Hormuz, and basically now it's all interrupted. So very limited trade happening because of all of this. So not good, not good. I don't see a lot of success with a lot of this. Iran fire cruise missiles at U.S. naval targets and bomb U.S. bases as Israel, the U.S. threaten major escalation to all-out nuclear war.
Fired another one of their big hypersonic missiles and told Israel, we'll hit your nuclear sites and destroy them. And Israel's threatening, saying, we got things a lot bigger than we dropped on you. You know what we got, threatening nukes. And then Trump keeps saying, yeah, I had to nuke them. I had to use nukes to get their deeper bases. And people go, did you use nukes? Well, the Iranians could go test the area and show the isotopes of a nuke being used, even what type it is. So I don't know if that's the case. I don't think so. Because you can't hide that when you use it. But I'm seeing explosions. Couple of them the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people are 30 miles away. There's giant, huge, white, orange flashes that look like nukes to me.
Yep.
You know, Israel dropped
Agreed.
the equivalent of a Moab on Lebanon a few weeks ago, and people went, oh, it's a nuke. But no, you saw it go, and then the way the explosion worked out and looked like a classic explosion. Let me just give you a very crude drawing here real quick, or we can just show you actual footage of it. A conventional explosion, if it hits the ground, punctures in, blows out a bunch. It looks like this. All right. Now, when a nuke detonates, and even if you do an airburst with this, it's still similar. All right. But with a nuke, let's say a half mile up, however you want to airburst at 2,000 feet, 5,000 feet, it detonates and
Mushroom
has
cloud.
a blast furnace radius of where the chain reaction's happening, depending on the megaton size. You got a circle about, let's say 5 miles out in all directions, where everything's melted to slag instantly. And you have the big blast radius goes out, and causes shock waves, fires, destruction out, 2 or 3 times on average further out. But it detonates here. But the way the explosion goes out, it then sucks in on itself and it goes up and then causes
big mushroom cloud.
The big mushroom cloud. So I've not been seeing that. But I saw some detonations.
I have seen that.
And I saw the U.S. posted them too, where all you see on
I'll
the
show you footage, and I think the United States absolutely has used nuclear weapons, and it happened. Again, I'm going to show you the clip after this clip of Alex Jones kind of breaking down his analysis of it. But I think we've seen this, everything Alex Jones is describing with a nuclear weapon. I think we already did see this.
Treason, 30, 40 miles away is, you see it go poof, and then it just fades out. You say, well, where's the mushroom cloud? Well, if it's a deep penetrator, it'll have 3 feet of super hard alloy on the front of it. It'll come in at, say, Mach 7 or 10, and then it goes down half a mile or whatever, and that contains a lot of the detonation, and so doesn't exactly. I've studied it all, but I'm not an engineer. But it looked like a tactical nukes to me. But you would pick up the isotopes from that. So I don't think they've done that yet. Let's hope not, because that is a major, 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 major escalation.
Real time.
Yeah, it is.
Uncensored.
So again, and the reason I think that the U.S. did do this is, I'm going to go to YouTube again here, and I'll show you why I think nuclear weapons were used here. So when we go to my YouTube channel, we go to the shorts. I just covered this strike right here, specifically. So I think this strike, which again took place in, kind of hard to read that, Chabahar Port strike. Actually, I don't think it was this one. It wasn't this one. Hold on. I covered this just a little bit ago. Which one was it? Let's see. It was a 5-hour strike. Where's the 5-hour strike? I think it was this. Okay, U.S. launches 5-hour precision strike. So this is the footage Alex Jones is talking about. And I think there's a reason YouTube kind of silenced this video a little bit. Didn't let it get a lot of views. Because I think nuclear weapons were absolutely used in this video based on my analysis of what a nuclear weapon looks like. So again, that's kind of what Alex Jones was just describing. He was describing that kind of nuclear explosion. Almost looks like a circular form of a nuke. But here's the real footage of it, in my opinion. You see a lot of what looks like a nuke here, and mushroom cloud included. So bam. So you have the actual detonation. And now, remember when Alex Jones said, with a nuclear weapon, you'll see it kind of sucking into itself, creating that mushroom cloud. So it impacts, and then a lot of that, out of the Mach energy that hits the floor, when it comes up, it's going to suck itself through, and then it looks like a mushroom cloud. So as you can see, it looks like it's sucking into itself. Bam, you have that perfect mushroom cloud right there. And then you can continue to see it. So again, more of the mushroom cloud formation. And then it looks like it's all that energy sucking upward. So I think this was a tactical nuke of some form used. And again, they can absolutely test for isotopes, proving that there was some kind of nuclear explosion. Very small tactical nuke at that. But this is like the behavior of a tactical nuke. Very small tactical nuke, but same thing that you will typically see. And really, with most tactical nuclear detonations, let's go to YouTube, we'll actually look it up. So, tactical nuke explosion. So what it actually looks like, it looks pretty similar when you look at it, doesn't it?
July 17th, strategic. On July 17th, 1962,
so as we watch this video,
the United States conducted a nuclear test codenamed Little Feller 1 in the desert at the Nevada test site. This warhead marked the smallest and lightest fission weapon ever, 1.7 miles before detonating 3 feet above the ground, exploding with a yield of 18 tons of equivalent TNT. 1,000 military personnel attended the test, the largest military gathering for a nuclear detonation. Initial radiation rates of 1 Roentgen per hour were measured, extending 660 feet from the blast site. At ground zero, rates were 10 Röntgen per hour. After the bomb detonated, troops proceeded to conduct battlefield maneuvers, completing the test. This would mark the final
That looks like
above-ground
identical to what we just saw. So again, when we look at other footage of it, the difference between a strategic and tactical nuke. So here's more on that. Jeez, hold on.
Strategic nuclear weapons are decisive weapons of war meant to change the course of a conflict, while tactical nuclear weapons are meant to change the course of individual battles. Strategic weapons also have the added strategic goal of deterrence, preventing a nuclear attack from ever happening. For this reason, they're generally considered to be nuclear weapons of 100 or more kilotons, capable of wiping out entire cities or large swaths of an enemy countryside. These are the infamous city killers, typically consisting of multiple warheads inside a single weapon to make interception more difficult and give them more time to reach. Tactical nuclear weapons are generally considered to be any weapon under 100 kilotons, also known as battlefield nukes. These weapons are meant to be used against concentrations of enemy troops. During the Cold War, the United States planned to defend Europe from the Warsaw Pact, called for the use of as many as 100 tactical strikes against advancing enemy forces. This is because the West was outmatched in terms of numbers by the conventional power of the East. As they have a far smaller yield, both powers hope that the use of tactical nuclear weapons won't lead to a world-ending nuclear war. Strategic nuclear...
So again, I want to cover more footage too. So here's another example. This would be like your strategic nuke. It's driving me crazy. YouTube Shorts are just being super weird. I don't want to get copyright. So this is like what you saw during Iwo Jima and when you saw those strikes. So this would be like a real tactical nuke versus like a strategic nuke. This is what you saw in World War II, and this would be like the main difference. So this is not what we're talking about when we're talking about these strategic nukes or, mini nukes that I guess you're seeing a lot of the time in Bandar Abbas being struck by the United States. I think there was absolutely nukes used, though, so far. And again, I covered that video just a few minutes ago. But again, you get that mushroom cloud, and that's kind of what it looks like when you see these different strikes. When you see these specific strikes of nuclear. So again, this is what Alex Jones was talking about a few minutes ago. If you noticed, you get this circular kind of vision. You get this circular kind of shape of the actual detonation. So before it even hits the ground, it detonates. This would be like a tactical nuke or even sometimes a strategic nuke, depending on what kind it is, like the A-bomb, something like massive mocks being used. But you see that circular detonation. And then you see the mushroom cloud start to develop. Then you'll get the blast wave, so you'll see some kind of energy coming from that. And then it'll start to suck up everything, kind of like a twister. It'll suck up its own smoke into itself because of the energy that has just been deployed. And then you get the mushroom cloud, or the tree-like form, the oak tree form. So when you see that, you're likely seeing some kind of tactical nuke or strategic nuke, depending on which kind it is. But I think we're seeing mostly strategic nukes being used versus tactical. And these are smaller nukes, smaller versions. Again, Patriot missiles, Patriot systems are not that. But we're getting close to that level in this entire war. So I do think that we are pretty much hitting a crossroads here. And we're looking at very real likelihood of a war coming in. So one more piece of footage to just kind of show you what actual tactical footage looks like after these ads stop interrupting me. So again, here's just this is what an atomic nuclear missile would look like, or a nuclear bomb. Just waiting for it. There we go. So again, there's what Alex Jones was talking about. You got your blast wave down here. You have that circular detonation shape. And then now you're going to see that mushroom cloud start to develop. And you'll see everything around it start sucking into itself because of the amount of energy and mocks that were used. And then you see that smoke cloud, that gust of smoke. And it's all sucking into itself upward. That is a nuke. That's like what we just watched. And again, let's watch the video I just showed you a few minutes ago, of what happened literally just this past weekend, I think a couple days ago. Again, let's go back to those shorts. And this is what I think the U.S. used. This is why I think the U.S. has used nukes by now. So again, where's that footage? U.S. launches 5-hour precision strike. These people... There we go. So again, specifically, I want to go to this footage right here. So this is everything we just watched. Same footage, and you see the same kind of activity. That looks... You got your mushroom cloud. Kind of a shaky video. Perfect mushroom cloud. You got the detonation blast wave around it. And it's starting to suck into itself. You see the smoke going upwards instead of outwards. And you can see the suction of the energy from the MOX used. And that blast wave continues. You can hear it. Crazy. So to me, that could be some kind of nuclear detonation, smaller level tactical nuke at that, but I absolutely think we have hit the point of nuclear war. That's my opinion. That's not fact. That's just my opinion based on what we've seen. We'll learn more as time goes on. Ukraine-Russia war latest. Chief engineer at Europe's biggest nuclear reactor killed in drone attacks, says the Kremlin. This is today at 2300 BST. So again, before the video plays, got to make me watch this disruptive ad. But this is just, here's the update on Russia versus Ukraine and everything that's going on with that. Pretty crazy. So I don't want to get copyright, so we'll just take out the audio. But very big, very big. So again, just a lot of footage of really the Russia-Ukraine attacks and these drone strikes that have been hitting the Russians pretty hard. And so when we look at this, it's kind of what we're dealing with. Chief engineer at Europe's biggest nuclear reactor killed in drone attacks, says the Kremlin. The chief engineer at the Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has been killed by Ukrainian drone near the station, Russian authorities have said. Alexei Likachev, the head of Russia's state nuclear corporation, Rosatom, said in a statement that a Ukrainian drone had struck a service car between the plant site and the town of Enderhar, killing the engineer, Alexander Yakovlev, and the driver on Wednesday. Last week, Moscow accused Ukraine of escalating what it called terror against the power station. The power plant is Europe's largest nuclear reactor and was captured by Russian troops early in the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. It comes after Ukraine's drone forces claimed to have hit 116 vessels in the Sea of Azov in the past 9 days as Vladimir Putin vowed a powerful retaliation to Ukrainian attacks to its territory. Commander of Ukraine's drone forces said its drone attacks struck several tankers and cargo ships with the aim of damaging Russia's shadow fleet. Russia is considering rerouting cargo from the Sea of Azov after increased Ukrainian attacks on shipping, the transport ministry said on Tuesday. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called the attacks acts of terrorism. So again, that's kind of what happened. That's what's happening with the Ukraine-Russia war. I think the Ukrainians are winning at the moment. Quick plug, if you're looking to invest in real estate in Michigan, then call me up. My name is Brendan Ecker, and I am a real estate agent. I'm a realtor, and also luxury certified. So if you have a home over the sale price of $750,000, then work with me. That's what I'm qualified for. And I also help with commercial triple nets, triple net leases and things like that. So again, BrendanEckerRealty.com. If you are looking for a realtor in Michigan, want to get some Michigan real estate, I'll help you out. I do work with buyers and sellers. I work with investors. I kind of work with everybody, but I really like to focus on mostly luxury real estate, residential, and then, again, commercial triple net leases. And so that's kind of what I focus on. But again, BrendanEckerRealty.com. And if you're looking to grow your business, then goldsharkmedia.com. It's Gold Shark Media AI. This is a software that I built and created for entrepreneurs, for business owners. Specifically, doesn't matter if you're HVAC, if you're in roofing, if you're any kind of attorney, anything like that, work with me. And again, you can work with goldsharkmedia.com. Just sign up. It's a 7-day free trial. And you basically can run your business from one entire system, one entire CRM. It's a lot more than a CRM, too. It's basically... Again, it's like an all-in-one business. It has everything you could possibly need to manage and run your business in one place. AI cold email drafts, personal per business, one-click import into your CRM pipeline, bulk status updates across the prospects, AI SMS drafts, and opportunity analysis, filter by industry, city, and status workflow not contacted in CRM. So again, you got your proposals here, client workspaces. If you're working with a digital marketing agency, if you need to grow your client's workplace, you need to grow their business. Okay, if you do what I do, you're like in digital marketing, and if you have another business where you want to grow their online business, build their websites and all that, we have our basically system for this. Very much like Go High Level, but I think it's a little bit more advanced because, again, we do have white labeling here, and it's actually at a more affordable cost, in my opinion. Not digging on Go High Level. I love Go High Level, but I think it's a little finicky, a little tough to use. And, again, we also have 24/7 customer support here. Social Publisher, if you want to manage all your social media, go through the process. Again, our customer support team can help you with this too if needed. We have templates for storm season prep if you're a roofer, before and after projects, financing available, roofing tips. All of these things already built out for you. Content planners, again, for social media, scheduling. Link up all your Google business profile, your Facebook, Instagram, X account, your TikTok, your YouTube, your LinkedIn. Some of these are a little bit difficult to add versus the other, but again, 24/7 customer support there to help you out. Team and people. So this is where you put your team. These are just dummy accounts I've created specifically for displaying a lot of what we have here. This gives you your roles and permission of everybody on your team. So you can, again, manage your whole team in one place. Got your reports of everything that's going on, how many total leads you have, your win rate, your lost deals, speed to lead, stale leads, and then the pipeline health. So right now mine's weak, right? But this is just a display. I'm just using this as a dummy account to show you kind of what we offer here. So for the Pro plan, again, you get a lot of these extra perks, upgrade to Pro, if you want to get plain language business insights, get best performing source, weakest converter, proposal close rate, meeting to close rate, and review follow through. Okay, ROI calculator. So this is already free, comes right with the software. Again, sign up for a 7-day free trial. goldsharkmedia.com. And you can basically analyze exactly what you're going to make in an annual year based on the numbers, your average deal value, your current close rate, and your monthly inbound leads. Plug in all the info and the data, and you'll get everything you need to know, right? Speed and team, average response time to the new leads. Let's say you take 4 hours. Let's take you got a team size of 7 people. It basically analyzes all of this for you. And then it gives you even more data once you upgrade. So this is pretty powerful software. It's great for business owners. Gives you everything you really need to know, and so that you can run your business in one place. For your reviews and reputation, you manage it all right here. In the review section, you have an AI chatbot, AI assistant that you can use, and you can build AI chatbots. You can build AI apps. That's also cool. Another thing. So you want to build a lead capture form for your client. You want to build ROI calculators. You want to build a client intake form. You can do that all in one place right here. Landing page sections, booking request widgets, quick estimators, interactive checklists, status dashboard. This software allows you to do all of that. Build your website in one place. Manage your domains. Everything right here. Manage it right here. And again, we already have built-in stuff and templates and snapshots for roofing companies, HVAC, med spa and clinics, law firms, marketing agencies, home service companies, real estate professionals, e-commerce brands. It's everywhere. You got everything you could possibly need. Integrations, you can, again, plug in your Calendly information, plug in your Google account, plug in your Slack, Microsoft 365, SendGrid, Twilio SMS, Google Meet, Zoom, MailChimp, all of it right here for you. Scheduling, again, schedule anything you need to do, anything that's on your agenda. Pipeline builders, tags to keep track of your project management. Referral center, again, we have an affiliate partner program as well that you can sign up for. So again, you want to help us get sales, we'll help you get sales, right? We'll help you make money. This is the referral link. It's already right here for you if you need it. And then if you want to white label this, you want to use all of this as your own software, then great. You can do that with Gold Shark Media AI. And again, put your own logo, put your own company website, everything right here. You get to use all of the software, everything you see already built out for you. Everything's right here. And then you can sell this to other clients or people you know. And so again, everything else is right here. Team access, no active subscription lets you know. And then these are the plans for it, costs. So it goes from $79 a month all the way up to the elite plans at $497 a month. And then if you're paying for a one-time annual, you go to $800 a year to the elite price of $5,000 a year. But that's basically allowing you to have, again, everything I just showed you. White label light, branded proposals with the logo name, tagline, and brand color in every share of the page. One-click branded PDF download from any proposal link. Branded HTML emails via Gmail. Your header, logo, and color on every send. Customer name, sender name. Clients see your brand in their inbox. Customer or support email on proposals, portals, and email footers. So again, you won't have that. Same thing with the Pro plan. You won't have like this. You won't have the watermark, the Gold Shark Media watermark. Branded client portals, agency identity and tagline, branded booking and scheduling pages, professional mode, so you'll remove all Gold Shark Media attribution platform-wide, custom domain with CNAME setup, daily owner digest, so sign-ups, leads, booking, and revenue recap at 8 a.m., so it tells you everything. Hey, here's all the clients you got. Here's everything that we accomplished yesterday. Here's all the data. Here's all the analytics. It gets fed to you every single morning at 8 a.m. Expanded AI credits, full team monthly quote, full audit logs, and dedicated onboarding call plus white glove setup support. So all of this is handled for you when we basically build out everything you want and need inside of this one software. So it's very amazing what this is able to do for you. And then this tells you exactly what you're going to get out of each plan. And so I highly recommend you look at that, see what works for you. You know, this is the digital economy, the AI economy. We need to grow businesses. This is how you do it, right? So ultimately, that's kind of where we're at. So to get back to what's really going on, again, I want to go back to the bookmarks. Let's see if there's any breaking news first, anything that's new in the algorithm. So dramatic video shows the U.S. Navy Blue Angels performing a low-altitude flyover, Pensacola Beach, Florida. The Navy says it was reviewing the maneuver and conducting a thorough safety investigation. That's funny. Damn. That's awesome. And we're gonna like get mad at the. Come on, we live in a country where you can't even do cool shit. Like we can't even be Americans anymore. We can't even like celebrate who we are anymore. It's honestly ridiculous. So stupid. This is Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu has hired Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, to monitor conservatives who are questioning Israel.
That's a brilliant.
Listen to this. Crazy.
Christian influencers. Okay.
Christian.
We talked about the woke right, and he said, "I call it the woke Reich."
Oh, this is old footage, but still relevant.
The woke right.
I guess I'm the woke right.
You know, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're movies.
I guess I'm just insane for questioning Israel and their genocide.
Is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time.
So this is important. Netanyahu is about to say how social media is the eighth front. Social media is the most important tool of war because it basically controls the narrative. It controls information flow, the way people think. Social media is the greatest weapon that you can possibly leverage in 2026 in a war. Even versus gathering and storming and, you know, all of this stuff, social media is where you're going to get real change today. That is where the war is being fought. And this is what he's about to say.
You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well, okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is class TikTok.
TikTok. Netanyahu says TikTok is the most important thing that the Israelis should focus on acquiring. Well, who acquired TikTok? Well, it was ByteDance, the company ByteDance. Well, who owns ByteDance and a lot of those different companies? Well, Larry Ellison. And Larry Ellison is a secular Jew. Very much loyalty to the pro-Israel cause. So this is happening all over the place, by the way. Larry Ellison and the Ellison family also acquired Disney and Paramount. You know, who acquired CBS and CNN? Barry Weiss, okay, who was also Jewish. So the media companies are being dominated by the Jews because the Jews understand that social media, or media in general, controls the minds of the masses, as Malcolm X once said. So it's important to note that during a time of war in 2026, we should not use weapons, but you should use social media. Use your voice online. Use the internet. And so until, again, there's some kind of EMP and power outages, which is a big part of Project Pogo and Zephyr, by the way. If you ever heard of Project Pogo and Zephyr, maybe you're really not supposed to know about that. But whatever, you should know about it. Project Pogo and Project Zephyr are two projects of which essentially the Israeli government and Mossad have organized to basically eliminate all anti-Zionist voices in media, like myself, for instance. And this would be a mass incident of power outages, and then they would basically go and eliminate any kind of threats, whether that means physically, whether it means by martial law and military arrest. Again, NDAA, or the National Defense Authorization Act, the HR 8800, fusing the Israeli military with the American military, allowing the Israeli military then, which they would have control over our military, to basically conduct all these kinds of operations on American soil against any voices against Zionism. Unlawful arrests, martial law, these things would now become legal, basically because the Israelis would have authority to do so. So it's important to discuss how social media is the eighth front. This is exactly what Netanyahu is saying here.
TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one? That's most important. X.
Twitter X.
Very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy.
He says we have to talk to Elon. Elon is a good friend to Israel, he says, which Elon is. But at the same time, Elon seems to be in the voice of the American people. He's also stood against a lot of what the Israelis have been doing when it comes to this occupation of America.
We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight, okay? To give direction to the Jewish people and give direction to our non-Jewish friends, or those who could be our Jewish our friends. Are we going to succeed with everyone? No. Will there be a strong counterpoint? Yes.
So again, Netanyahu is all about taking, again, the war on the eighth front of what he calls it, social media, TikTok and X. These are the two platforms where the Israelis are targeting most, okay? Now, me personally, I think that it's every social media platform. The more you're out there, and especially all these emerging social media platforms, it's going to be pretty massive. So social media is everything. So meanwhile, important to note, as we also have this war of the Israeli occupation of the United States of America, which is happening through NDAA, through the NDAA HR 8800 Section 219, which was formerly Section 224, we also have to focus on this Muslim takeover of America, which is happening. And they say this. Muslim imams are saying this. Imams, if you don't know, an imam is basically like a pastor or a priest of this, like a priesthood of the Muslim Islam class. And so the Islamification of America is a very important thing to pay attention to as well. Again, America is sitting in the middle of two trains coming at them at the same time. So we are taking on an Israeli occupation of the United States via legislation and through overrepresented power in politics. And then same thing really with the Muslims. They're taking over power too in politics. They understand the importance of this. But at the same time, they are using the sword. They're going by force and basically praying in front of mosques, taking up space. And I don't say that in a racist way. I say that in terms of military strategy, like taking up space, like they're praying in front of Catholic churches and Christian churches, basically pushing people away, and on purpose to make sure that they can turn that into a mosque. Intimidation tactics. So very important clip here.
City Council, the fact that the mayor and the city attorney had ignored my request to end the viewpoint discrimination against Christians and Jews in its placement of religious banners that solely celebrated Ramadan in violation of the Establishment Clause. I came to the City Council because you, as you actually just recognized a moment ago, are a separate municipal entity. You have your own power and authority, and you have the authority to allocate money to fund banners that celebrate Easter and Passover. After that meeting, I emailed every one of you asking to talk to you. I was informed the City Council didn't want you talking with me, and that I should set up a meeting. I tried, and 2 emails were ignored. I even offered to meet without my lawyer to show that I'm trying to act in good faith to come up with a resolution. But again, it was ignored, which is troubling.
This is so horrifying, by the way. This is in Dearborn, Michigan, City Council meeting replay from May 19th, 2026. So this is just 2 months ago.
What would be even more troubling is if the city attorney did not advise you of a conflict of interest in representing both the mayor and the city council and you individually. The mayor has already rejected the efforts to put up banners to celebrate Passover and Easter, and in fact, afterwards, put up additional Ramadan banners, as if to say, it doesn't matter what you want. Let me be clear. I came to the city council because the mayor and his administration ignored my requests.
So people are getting ignored now because they're trying to emphasize the importance of fighting against this Islamification of America. They're trying to talk with city council members about this, and city council members are just ignoring them.
Again, you are a separate municipal entity, and each of you are liable for what you do, not what the mayor does. My request is very simple. You have a budget surplus. We just saw that. Pass a resolution that directs the funding and placement of banners to celebrate Easter and Passover, and have a menorah added to the holiday display. The city council, the city attorney might tell you you can't talk to me, but he can't tell you that you can't propose a resolution. And I would hope that an independent attorney who's representing your best interest would not give the advice to ignore when a citizen is trying to work with you to avoid litigation, to ignore that individual.
You have 30 seconds.
So again, you have the power to pass a resolution. Do any of you have the interest in actually showing that Christians and Jews are going to be treated equally by putting a banner up? Or is this your policy? You had no problem talking to everybody else who came up here.
I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Thank you. Just total traitors. Again, I can't emphasize it enough. Look at the way that these rooms are set up. You see the city council who sits high above you, like they have the authority over you. And it's just like, it should be the other way around. You know, these are not people who represent the people. This guy doesn't even look like he's American. Again, Paris. So it's like, look at this. And these people are just selling out their country completely. Absolutely selling out their country. It's just horrible. 24 minutes ago, breaking news. Bahrain residents awakened to thunderous explosions as 10+ blasts rock areas near U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. This comes as Iran strikes U.S. assets in Bahrain and Kuwait. Attacks reportedly still ongoing. So again, this is footage of that. Absolutely crazy.
Celebrate the so-called.
This is in Michigan. Frickin' Michigan. Christians are deceitful rogues under Allah's wrath. They are infidels and do not worship the same God as us. How can Muslims mix with these infidels? Infidels, they call us. And you have white liberal old boomers who are letting these people in droves.
We see that the Christians celebrate the so-called birth of Isa alayhi salam, which is a pagan holiday. These rogue liars make claims against Allah Jalla wa Ala that are mind-blowing. So much so that hearts turn away from. The beginning of every Gregorian year, they make the celebration claiming that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a wife and a child. How can a Muslim after this celebrate, congratulate, intermingle with these kuffar, claiming that Allah Jalla wa Ala has a wife and has a child?
Again, this is in Michigan.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath is upon them. He says, subhanahu
Allah's wrath is upon them, he says.
wa ta'ala means Indeed, you have brought forth a terrible evil thing. And do not fall, ya ikhwa, for the interfaith nonsense. These people who give khutab and come to the masajid, claiming that the Yahud are not kuffar, the Nasara are not kuffar. No one is kafir. We're all the children of Adam. We worship Allah differently. Brothers in humanity, don't fall.
You worship Allah by whipping your women and checking their ankles to see if anybody can see their ankles. You are a religion of total destruction, and your God is the false God. You have been completely subverted by Satan. Islam is not the truth. Christianity is the truth. Christ is king. And the same goes for the Jews. Hashem is not God. Baal is not God. Satan is not God. Christ is God, the Son of God, the flesh of the one and only holy God. And they are one and the same. The Holy Spirit, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. These are one. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. One. That is the God. And so for these people to completely commit their blasphemy against our religion in our homeland, our Christian homeland, may they suffer complete and total deportation. And again, this is just totally uncalled for in this country. This is our country, this is a Christian country. Everything great about this country was because this was a Christian country first and foremost. You know, this country was never an Islamic country, and that's why we were able to build what we built in this country. The moment this country started going downhill was the moment we started inviting in all these other religions and peoples from different places and walks of the earth who have different cultures and customs to our own. And then they changed the place that we lived into the places they came from, and now they talk badly about our home as if it is like theirs, where they came from. But when they are the ones who created it and turned it into this, they should be turned back the other way and sent to a completely different country entirely, and the country they came from.
For this, ya ikhwa. This is the new thing that is going on today.
Not a partisan independent research institute providing research. So yeah, honestly, absolutely crazy. These people really just think that they are going to take over America. Florida congressional candidate and Marine William Upham calls for the assassination of Donald Trump. Jeez. Trump is a false messiah, and he is your enemy, and he must be killed. Oh, my God. So, again, that's not my words. I'm just reporting what I'm seeing here on Twitter. This is from the Megatron X account. He posts a lot of geopolitical stuff, but I won't play that just because I don't want to get banned, but my gosh. No, we don't call for violence here. We call for political victory. You know, you win legally, lawfully, and politically. You never commit violence. Violence is not the answer in 2026. It's not going to get you anywhere but a prison cell. You're going to get prison, and you know you're not going to be remembered in the history books. You should act. There is there should be peaceful assembly, First Amendment. There should absolutely be groups like Patriot Front, who again, community builders. You get together, you have book clubs, you're hiking, you're bonding, you're working out together, you're learning about the Bible, the founding of this country, you study, you gain positions of law, and you help each other get jobs. That's excellent, But to the point of physical violence, this is only necessary when there is no alternatives left. And honestly, what I mean by that is when there is no more media. When there's no more media, and when they take away social media, then honestly, perhaps that would be the route to go. Because in that context, if they were to take away social media, who's going to know about it? And B, ultimately, there would be nothing else you can do. You can't politically fight back with free speech once they take the media away. Once they take that ability to be heard away from you. And again, I don't mean by censorship. I mean by literally just wipe it, like power outages and, this kind of third worldism. And when it gets to that level, I can understand how that could happen. And, there would be some kind of assembly of people to revolt against the government. That would make sense. But, if we're talking right now in 2026, while we have social media, you still have means of political power. You have means to become a lawyer or an entrepreneur to gain a lot of wealth like I have, and you use that to save your country. These are the ways and the means of which you take back America. Right? You can still fight back by getting involved in politics, by becoming a lawyer, by getting involved in, again, entrepreneurship, starting businesses, buying businesses, generating wealth. And then you use that to your advantage to save your country. So again, through my amendment to strike $3.3 billion in aid to Israel from the State Department, APROP's bill did not pass. 104 members voted in favor of it. The tide is changing. Americans want their tax dollars to be spent in improving things here at home, not waging war and genocide. That's Thomas Massey on X.
Our national security interests overseas. You see, the same terrorists and terrorist entities that threaten Israel also threaten the United States and our people.
That's very true.
You see, when we give Israel the tools and capabilities to eliminate these terrorist threats and to protect their homeland, by the way, including the many Americans who visit and live there, we are making America and the American people safer.
That is a lie. Okay, so to say that we need to merge the entire U.S. military, see, what he's saying is completely not what's in the National Defense Authorization Act or H.R. 8800. That is not what's happening. We're not giving aid to Israel. We're not. That's not all we're doing with this. We're merging the entire military with Israel's military as one military, giving them all of the intelligence and, again, everything, all of everything. All of the power, all of the control, essentially, is going to be shared with the Israeli military and the IDF, the Mossad, CIA and Mossad. Basically, again, the same thing. And everybody knows that who's in CIA. But it's absolutely horrible what we're living through. This is completely and totally treason. This is somebody who's selling out his country, and he really just thinks that this is all great because he's getting money from AIPAC, probably.
The United States and Israel have worked together on successful military operations.
Great.
Like
that has
those
nothing to do with the bill.
Past year to decimate Iran's nuclear program and missile capabilities. And Israel is also using the overwhelming majority of this funding to actually purchase American-made weaponry. So it actually helps our defense industrial base and our economy.
No, it doesn't.
And we've worked together extensively on developing military...
Yeah, the same country who literally assassinated their enemies, their neighbors, who they lived with since 1947, with pager bombs, of which the Hamas military bought through shell companies. Okay, yeah, that's really smart. And let's merge our military the same exact way and do the same thing with our so-called neighbors and friends, when the same country has literally talked about how they need to take Trump out, how they celebrated the crashing of a B-52 bomber plane and how they were behind it, the USS Liberty, and they brag about the Twin Towers and 9/11, all of these things. Larry Silverstein making $4.5 billion off of the two Twin Towers falling that day on 9/11. Come on. Charlie Kirk's assassination, of which we will never learn the truth to, but we suspect that, again... his security detail and possibly a lot of elements of the Mossad and Israeli military had something to do with that. Again, a lot of signs are pointing to that. Very interesting stuff.
Capabilities and other capabilities. Because of these advancements for our mutual interest and for our mutual security, there is currently a discussion, frankly, of moving to a new security partnership with Israel after the fiscal year 2028. Just to be clear, the assistance in this bill for fiscal year 2027 is under the terms of the existing MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which runs for 2 more fiscal years. This does not in any way prejudge the outcome of ongoing negotiations. This is about fulfilling our commitment to one of our closest and most important allies.
Ah, there's the line.
That we have in the entire world at a time
that's such a lie
when terrorists are butchering people around the world.
Israel is the terrorist. Now, again, same thing with, again, these Muslims. They're a problem too, but at the same time, we're being attacked as Americans from both sides, the Muslims and the Israelis. And the Israelis are committing a genocide right now as we speak, a real Holocaust when they're complaining about the Holocaust today. It's complete crap.
And we made that commitment because it makes the American people, our country, stronger. So I urge defeat of the amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves.
We need to completely strike the National Defense Authorization Act.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
In its form of
heard a
H.R.
common
8800.
refrain in my colleague's arguments there that, oh, don't worry, all this money is going to the military-industrial complex. Well, I've got a problem with that. That's not a sustainable
This
economy.
is a real patriot, Thomas Massey.
Buying weapons and letting people use them overseas on other people, particularly oftentimes innocent civilians. And I'm not compelled by the argument that our job is to be here and enrich the military-industrial complex, now called the Defense Industrial Base. With that, I would like to yield 2 minutes to my friend and colleague, Mr. Castro from Texas.
The gentleman is recognized.
Madam Speaker, Israel does not need, and quite honestly, does not deserve more American money for weapons.
Facts.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has taken Israel down an ugly path. The tragedy of October 7th has become a justification for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians.
Even Charlie Kirk admitted that October 7th was an Israeli stand-down.
Self-defense
They allowed
does
it to
not
happen.
include indiscriminately bombing homes, hospitals, churches, schools, or refugee camps. There were even credible reports of children intentionally shot in the head and chest.
That's true.
For decades, our nation gave Israel billions to facilitate peace and a two-state solution. Instead, Israel has chosen more war and more occupation.
Yep.
Today it occupies
Greater
not
Israel
only Gaza
Project.
and the West Bank, but parts of Syria and Lebanon. If there are no consequences, why in the world would Benjamin Netanyahu change what he's doing? And words are not enough. Condemnations are not enough. If we hope to change Israel's behavior, we must use our leverage. The American people have seen this tragedy with their own eyes. They have made their judgment. They do not support giving Israel
I can't
more
believe the
weapons.
Democrats are actually
Do not
defending
reward
America for
the
one time
wrongdoer.
in like
Now
years.
it's up to us in this chamber to take action. I support this amendment, and I yield back.
And so again, this
Now
amendment by
recognize
Thomas
Chairman from
Massey
Kentucky.
is to essentially strike this entire
May I
H.R.
inquire how much
8800.
time I have remaining?
The gentleman has a minute and a half remaining.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I yield to the distinguished ranking member of the subcommittee, the gentleman from Florida, Ms. Franklin, for 1 minute.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Should I yield to? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in very strong opposition to this amendment. Maintaining stability in the Middle East has long been a vital United States strategic interest, and what happens there affects our economy, our national security, the safety of our American service members. And as written, this amendment is overbroad in that it prohibits or could limit the use of funds for long-standing initiatives related to peace building, refugee settlement, and U.S. Embassy operations. And this amendment would restrict our country's ability to confront Iran's proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations in the region.
And then more boomers.
Who are sworn enemies of the United States, Israel, and our allies. A 10-minute debate is not the way to change.
So again, she is basically in favor of H.R. 8800, Section 219, this entire Israel military with the U.S. military integration and fusion. She is in support of it. Again, look at her. Total boomer, totally out of touch with the younger generation, really just probably getting paid by AIPAC, enjoying her money.
Policy as we have a mission of peace and prosperity, both for Israelis and Palestinians, and peace in the region.
Israel's committing a Holocaust right now. They're literally putting these people in prison camps and torturing them.
Yield back.
They're violating laws of their own Geneva Convention, of which they created.
Gentleman from Florida.
I would like now to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer.
Gentleman from Florida, from Maryland. You're recognized.
They certainly make politics boring.
Madam Speaker,
for a reason.
I rise in strong opposition to this amendment, which would dangerously undermine American national security.
So again, another boomer Democrat, of course, who is in favor of H.R. 8800 and the fusion of the U.S. military and Israeli military. He's in favor of it. Why do you think? Another boomer.
If adopted, it would, as Leader Jeffries rightly pointed out, limit our ability to confront terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah that expressly target American citizens and military personnel.
American citizens? What about the American soldiers who are getting bombed needlessly in Kuwait, in Bahrain, and again, Kuwait, like Jordan? Insane.
And it would make it harder for America to use our relationships with Israel and regional partners to promote a negotiated two-state settlement.
What does Israel give the United States in reciprocity when we give them $318 billion since 1946? Nothing. Israel gives us nothing. Who's fighting the war right now in Iran? It's the United States. It's not Israel. I don't see the IDF out there in Iran right now. I see the United States military out there. I see the Fifth Fleet getting bombed by the Iranians, not Israel. Why? What is Israel doing for the United States when their own rabbis are saying you need to send your sons and daughters to die, to fight and die for Israel? These people give us nothing in return for everything that we give them with our tax dollars.
The only realistic path to deliver on the promise of peace, security, and self-determination for both Israel and Palestine. I understand the frustration that many members feel some of the policies and actions of the current Israeli government, as well as their concerns about its commitment to the peace process and a two-state solution. However, this amendment would embolden the enemies of peace, those pursuing the complete elimination of Israel, and
why do we care about Israel so much? How about the existence of America? How about our own borders? How about America first? These are Israel first politicians and boomers, of course. It's always the boomers.
Those who seek the death of Jews. It is a vote to weaken our ability to engage in the region, and it's a vote against American security, against American interest, and against American safety. Vote no.
The gentleman, I now recognize the gentleman from Florida.
This is almost over. 2 more minutes.
Let me just very briefly conclude. As I said before at this bill, I've said it many times, if you're an ally and a friend of the United States, this bill supports you, and if you're an adversary, you're not going to like this bill. We have no stronger ally than the state of Israel.
Such a lie.
This is our commitment under the MOU.
Israel is like our least valuable ally that we could get rid of tomorrow and it wouldn't change anything.
Opposed this amendment, and with that, I would yield back.
The gentleman yields.
They never tell you why Israel. They can never tell you why Israel is apparently our greatest ally. They can never give like examples beside maybe the money they pay the politicians who are saying the same thing. Like they can never give you any real reason that Israel is somehow our greatest ally. They just say, well, they're our greatest ally. That's the whole line that you're supposed to say, and you get your $7,000 paycheck from the IDF. Unbelievable.
And with that, I would like to close by saying that Israel has the strongest economy in the Middle East. Their debt per GDP is in much better shape than ours. They don't need our money. In fact, they've claimed recently they want to get off of the welfare.
Facts.
But I'm concerned that the other funding mechanisms they're talking about.
This is the only guy, literally, who is fighting against this in our Congress right now, Thomas Massie. The only one who realizes that we are selling out our country right now. This guy should be the president next in 2028. He should, if we lived in an ideal situation, this guy would be running for president for the Republican Party. But Trump literally casted him out because Trump is Israel first. And he has lied to the American people. As much as I hate to admit it, this is a guy who actually cares about America. Hasn't taken one dime from AIPAC.
Commingling our technology and supply chains will have even less transparency than what's going on here today. So I'm opposed to that as well. I'm opposed to all foreign aid. I didn't pick on Israel here. I've offered an amendment to defund Egypt and also to defund the aid to Jordan, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I am particularly concerned this year about the foreign aid to Israel. There have been 70,000 casualties in Gaza, and I don't think we should be part of that. American taxpayers should not be conscripted into funding the military adventures of Israel, and I urge adoption of my amendment, and with that, I yield back.
That is how every single politician in Congress right now should be speaking. That's everything that should be said. You're speaking on behalf and for the American people. You're understanding that taxpayers are paying every single dime to this country, of which gives us nothing in return. Like, Thomas Massie is one of the only politician who has been fighting against this.
The gentleman yields back. The question
Then
is
we have this woman who's in control for some reason.
on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Kentucky. Those in favor say aye.
Kimberlyn King Hins, acting chair committee of the whole House.
Those opposed say no.
Looks like she's from a completely
In the
different
opinion
country.
of the chair, the noes have it. Does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
I request the yeas and nays.
Does the gentleman request for a recorded vote?
I request a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Kentucky will be postponed.
And that is the end of America in a nutshell. When we have a bunch of boomers selling our country out, that is why our country is losing. So for that's all the time we have. That's the National Defense Authorization Act, fiscal year 2027. That is H.R. 8800. That is why this is such a problem. We need to fight against this. The Senate needs to say no, or you might as well start calling America the United States of Israel, because at that point, if they control the military and if they control the money too, then they control America. So that's all I have. America first, or America dies.